Hello, this is Political Forum for Wednesday, June 13th. Today we welcome 49th Ward Alderman Joe Moore. Thank you for appearing on Political Forum, Alderman Joe
It's
Moore.
my pleasure, Dulce. It's good to see you, and it's good to be back on Political Forum.
That's great. I am Dulce Maria Diaz, board member here at CAN TV. You are watching a live interactive program brought to you by a community service by CAN TV. Be sure to tell your friends that they can also watch, they can stream online at cantv.org/hotline.
I'll
And-
have you know, we are both sporting our CAN TV buttons. You have to represent when you're on Political Forum.
Thank you. And we welcome your questions and comments for Alderman Joe Moore throughout the segment by calling us at 312-738-1060. So please join in the conversation. We'll try to get to as many of your calls as possible for the next 25 minutes. So we want to show you our contact information for Alderman Joe Moore here, and if you missed that, you can we'll show you again throughout the segment, so you can find his contact information. Something else that we wanted to show you was the 49th ward. So this is it. Can you please take us through the boundaries?
Sure, I'd be happy to. The 49th Ward is on Chicago's far north side. Evanston is the northern boundary. The lake is our eastern boundary. We go as far south as Devon Avenue, and as you can see, the southern boundary kind of zigs and zags, but we go as far south as Devon. And then Ridge Boulevard constitutes our eastern boundary for the most part, except when you get to Touhy Avenue, and there we go as far west as Western. So it's essentially 80% of the Rogers Park community and a little slice of the West Ridge community, which is the community immediately west of Rogers Park.
And we go to this block, this Touhy block, and there was a fire recently on the 1400
Yes.
block of Touhy, where one person was actually sadly, unfortunately, killed. What is the latest information?
Yeah, it was actually on the 1700 block of Touhy.
Thank you.
Right on a building that's on the southeast corner of Clark and Touhy. It was a tragic fire. It happened a week ago Tuesday in the early morning hours around 5:30, and it ended up that tragically one of the residents of the building, in order to escape the flames, jumped from the top floor of the building and suffered fatal injuries as a result of that. She died. Another resident of the building suffered smoke inhalation. Fortunately, the rest of the residents escaped, but unfortunately, the building was nearly destroyed, and those residents lost all of their belongings. Thanks to a surveillance camera behind the building, the police were able to identify someone who they believe set a fire. I'm not privy to know whether they know what her motive was, the suspect's motive, but they did arrest the suspect, a woman who was seen at the site, and they believe they have the evidence to show that she started the fire, and she's charged with both murder and with arson, and is currently being held at 26 in California at the Cook County Jail without bail pending her trial. That's the sad news. The very uplifting news is my neighborhood's a great, compassionate neighborhood, and the residents stepped up to the plate. We set up a fund that people could contribute to help the victims of the fire. Most of the victims escaped with only the clothes on their back. They lost all their belongings, they lost all their IDs, and so my office has been working with the local Mexican consulate, Catholic Charities, and Northside Community Resources, which is a social service agency in my neighborhood, to help the families find new places to live, to get duplicate identification, and to get the financial assistance they need for a security deposit and the first month's rent, as well as getting supplies, household supplies and clothing in order to get them back on their feet. So anyone who's watching this show who would like to contribute, please visit my website, ward49.com. There it is right there. And you at that website you can find an article on the fire and a link to making a donation. Or you can visit the Northside Community Resources website. You can Google Northside Community Resources and you can find the link to the donation right there. About $20,000 has been raised so far in our neighborhood, which is just remarkable that that people really they saw the tragedy that befell their neighbors and they came to their assistance. It says a lot about the kind of community Rogers Park is. It's a compassionate, caring community that looks out for each other. I often liken Rogers Park in the 49th Ward to a small town in a big city, and this was another evidence of that. So out of tragedy came hope and compassion, and hopefully we can get those families back on their feet, and they can move beyond this horrible tragedy.
Thank you for that, and everybody that's contributed and helped out. And one thing that I want to kind of highlight is how quickly that took place. Now, this fire took place 1 week ago.
Yeah. Last week ago yesterday, yeah,
So,
and already
yes.
we've had all this money raised.
Yes.
We've been able to begin finding housing for the families, get them back on their feet. We folks just really stepped up to the plate and really did a lot to help families that they may not have known, but they felt very, very compassionate for them.
It's the power of a great community. We have a caller. Caller, do you have a question or a comment that you would like to ask Doctor? Doctor, you're healing the community, right?
There you go.
Alderman Joe Moore.
Yes, Alderman Moore, thank you for taking this call. I wanted to ask you about the Target development in Devon and Sheridan. And I would like to ask you why you refused to meet with the low-income senior citizen residents at Caroline Hedger or listen to their concerns for making a determination on this project.
Wow, you are operating under some misinformation, caller. We met with the residents of the building on several occasions to share with them the plans for the development, to get their input, and the vast majority of those residents supported the development. So I think there's been some misinformation out in the community that you've been privy to, and the fact is that's clearly not the case. And the residents of the Caroline Hedger building, for people who are watching this may not be aware of this, on Sheridan and Devon right now there's a development taking place that will bring to the Rogers Park community a Target department store, a mini Target. They call it a flexible format Target. It's about 20,000 square feet, about 20% of the size of a regular Target. And there it is. And there will be a Target store on the first level, and above that will be 111 units of housing, 2/3 of which will be affordable housing. At a time when rents are rising in our community and people are fearful of being priced out, we are providing over 60 units, 65 units to be precise, of affordable housing. And this is housing that is housing under the Chicago Housing Authority. So this is housing for people of very low income. And they'll be able to enjoy the amenities of the new Target. The Target has already agreed to hire from the community. We put them in touch with Sullivan High School, which is our local high school, to hire the residents in that community. This is an example of a public-private partnership that works. The Chicago Housing Authority teamed up with a local developer to develop this site. The rent that the Target will be paying will go to the CHA to help them fund other affordable housing projects in other parts of the neighborhood and other parts of the city. It's really a win-win situation. And at a time when federal funds for affordable housing are quickly dwindling, we really have to come up with creative ways of stretching what remaining dollars we have to provide for housing for as many people as possible. And this is a kind of development that I think will be replicated throughout the city of Chicago and indeed across the nation as we struggle with the fact that the federal government is not supporting affordable housing the way it should be. And so the one thing that the seniors will get in addition to being right above a target is that they will have a new community room. The community room that they did have, it was old and it was torn down to make way for this development. And as part of the new development, they are being given a brand new community room that they will have the ability to design. So I do appreciate the caller reaching out to clarify the misinformation he had, but this is a project that is strongly supported by the community and one that we listened to the seniors and took their input as I decided whether to support this proposal.
And thank you, caller. Again, it kind of brings us into our next set of questions that we had for Alderman Joe Moore this afternoon with relation to bringing, through the efforts to bring affordable housing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm chairman of the City Council Committee on Housing and Real Estate, and I'm really very keenly aware of the housing crisis we have in our city. And I'm also keenly aware of the fact that our city is one of the most segregated cities in the nation, unfortunately, and we have huge areas of the city that are segregated with people and very low incomes with no hope. The key to get out of this is building mixed income communities. And Rogers Park, the 49th Ward, is a shining example of a mixed income community that's home to people of all walks of life, of all economic circumstances. And it's a community that has proven to be successful. But it's not something that just happens organically. You have to make it happen. And so over the years as alderman, I have supported both market rate housing, mixed income housing, and affordable housing to ensure that the community continues to remain affordable as the neighborhood improves. And we've had a number of developments that have done just that have balanced, and we just talked about one that has both affordable and market rate housing to ensure that the neighborhood continues to be home to people of all incomes.
Yes. Can we talk about the Moore's location
Sure.
in particular?
Yeah, this is one that a development that I supported after an extensive community process. It's a 50-unit market rate development on Morse Avenue, just east of the Morse Cell Station. And it is going up as we speak, and that will be what it looks like once the project is finished next year. My hope is it'll bring new people into the community who, with disposable income, who can spend that money to help support the burgeoning retail area that's taking place on Morse Avenue and make sure that Morse doesn't slide back. We've made a lot of progress on Morse. And so that's one of the examples of a market rate development I've supported. There's also another market rate development I've supported up on Howard Street at 1525 West Howard. It is a 30-unit market rate development on Howard Street at Bosworth. It replaced an old tire shop and a vacant lot. And this is the first market rate residential development on Howard Street in decades. Again, Howard Street has seen some real progress lately. We've got a couple of really cool businesses opening up. Salerno's Italian restaurant, a coffee shop, a live theater, the Factory Theater are all open on Howard Street, but we still have a lot of vacancies. And bringing people with economic means to the street who can help support the local businesses and bring in new businesses, it will be a boon for everybody in the community. But having said that, I know that we have to make sure that we continue to have affordable developments as well, and I've supported a number of affordable developments. This one coming up, the third development, this is one on 1730 Greenleaf. It is 30 units of housing that are both market rate and affordable. And what this developer has proposed to do is to preserve this old laundry that's located at 1730 Greenleaf, just east of Clark Street. It was the home of the Ethiopian Community Center for the last 20 years. They have moved to smaller quarters And really the only way to preserve this beautiful building that is on the list list of architecturally significant buildings was to transform this building to a residential development that is home not only to market rate folks, but also there are affordable units as well. There's a development right close by, just about a block away, that is a fully affordable housing development. If we can go to that one. That's the Concord we just talked about. This one right here. This is a development that's going to take place on the southwest corner of Estes and Clark. Longtime residents remember that was the site of the Adelphi Theater, which is an old dilapidated theater that needed to be torn down. There was a proposal for a condo development back 12 years ago. That fell victim to the Great Recession, and for the last 12 years, this property remained vacant. I identified a developer who specializes in affordable housing developments, and what will be put in place there, as construction hopefully will start in the next few weeks, is a 54-unit development consisting of housing for low income and working class families. Once again, this is to ensure that as we work on helping to bring up the neighborhood and support local businesses and bring new businesses to the community, we also make sure that this neighborhood continues to remain home for people of low and moderate income, and this development will help us do just that. So the bottom line is this: the way to build a successful mixed income city and a stable city is through housing, is through a mix of housing, both the market rate and affordable housing built together side by side so that we can have neighborhoods that are home to people of all economic strata. And we don't have a situation that's occurring in New York or in San Francisco, which those cities are becoming home only to the very wealthy. And that is not a healthy situation. We want to avoid that, and that's why we're doing this kind of mixed kind of development here in Rogers Park.
Thank you for clarifying that. It's very important. And we have another caller. You have a question or comment for Alderman Joe Moore?
Hi, yes. Aside from housing, what initiatives are you funding for education and other educational purpose programs in the 49th Ward?
Absolutely. Education and improving the quality of our schools is vitally important. And one of the things I'm happy to report is that every school in our neighborhood has seen an increase in their test scores and in their graduation rates and in their attendance rates. It is a sure sign that the neighborhood is coming together to support our schools. And one of the things that I'm working really hard on is to make sure that the school that has seen the most challenges in our neighborhood, Gale School, continues its early stages of improvement. We have a dynamic new principal there, Augie Emua, who is the principal of Gale School, who has really changed the culture at Gale, and we've seen increased attendance and increased test scores at that school and a greater school spirit. And one of the things I'm helping Principal Emua and the local school council there is to bring a smart health clinic to Gale School, which will provide an array of services for students and their families at Gale School. This has been a proven method at Sullivan High School in our neighborhood and Kilmer High School, which both have health clinics as well. The existence of health clinics on site where students can receive the care they need without having to go to an emergency room or to a doctor's office somewhere outside of school where they'll have to take time off of school, it has proven really, really successful and have helped Sullivan improve its school rating and helped Kilmer move to a level 1 school. We want to do the same thing at Gale School. And Principal Emua is someone who believes that if we get that health clinic into Gale School, that Gale 2 can be a level 1 school. So I'm all about improving all our schools, all our public schools in the neighborhood, and this is, I think, one of the ways we can do that.
Yeah, it's very impressive and also very important. Staying healthy. We have another caller. You have a question or comment for for Alderman Joe Moore? We may have lost our caller.
Oh, well.
So we were heading into,
Hello?
with the efforts that are going on with the 49th Ward, which you've just greatly talked about. So thank you, caller. And now let's move into budgeting. Can you please?
Caller's coming back.
Hey, thank you for calling. You have a question or comment for Alderman Joe Moore?
Yes, I have a question concerning traffic on Sheridan Road. Especially with that Target coming in, is there any concern about adding more traffic to that intersection around Sheridan and Devon? And furthermore, I also bike in the ward on Sheridan, and I know that there's a lot of traffic and a lot of cars, especially even around Loyola Park. Is there any way we can try to slow down traffic, or try to diffuse it, because it's real dangerous as for a bike rider?
Sure, absolutely. Well, first, with regard to the traffic issues around Sheridan and Devon, before I approved the proposed development at Sheridan and Devon, I asked the Department of Transportation to do a full study, and they have recommended some changes to the configuration of the traffic lanes there to help facilitate the smooth flow of vehicular traffic, including adding a left turn bay lane for traffic traveling northbound. As I indicated earlier, this is not a big box target. It's a 20,000 square foot target, and they believe that most of the traffic that's generated to the target will be foot traffic, people who live in the immediate area who walk to the store to purchase their goods and products. So the Department of Transportation does not believe there's going to be any really deleterious impact to the traffic situation at Sheridan Devon. Having said that, I'm working with Alderman Harry Osterman to provide some pedestrian bump outs at Sheridan and Devon so that we make that intersection a lot more pedestrian friendly. Right now, it's very difficult to cross Sheridan Road and Broadway at those locations. So we're going to provide these bump outs to make the time within which you can cross, the distance you have to cross, a lot less daunting. Particularly consideration that we need to address because of the Carolyn Hedger Senior Building that's right on the corner. Now, you mentioned bike safety. Well, one of the things that we're trying to do is discourage people from riding their bike on Sheridan Road. And I've been working with the city's Department of Transportation to provide a very safe route for bikes to go on Glenwood Avenue, which, as you know, is the next main street, more or less, west of Sheridan Road. And we're working with the 48th Ward to have bike route that goes through the 48th Ward, which is a ward in the Edgewater community just to my south, all the way through Rogers Park up to Evanston and connect with the bike routes there. So they are about to install new lanes and pedestrian and traffic safety measures along Glenwood between Devon and Pratt, with bump outs and things to slow traffic on there to make it safe for bicyclists. And hopefully that's going to start within the next month or two. And people who might subscribe to my newsletter will get that information. You can go to my website to subscribe to my newsletter at ward49.com and sign up at the top of the page. But the gentleman's calling me. Sounds like he's a serious bicyclist. We want to make sure he's safe, and we're going to make sure he has a safe route to go without having to go to Sheridan Road.
Absolutely. Thank you again for calling and for taking part of this community for this political forum tonight. Alderman Moore, we have just a few minutes left in tonight's show. Are there any final comments you'd like to make?
I just want to really thank CAN TV for having this important forum. I know you have me, but you also have a lot of my colleagues and state legislators. And I like the fact that people can watch this show without having to leave their house. Yes. I mean, they don't have to go to a community meeting. They don't have to leave their home. They can address their local elected officials directly through this political forum. And those of you who haven't been able to get through tonight, please communicate with me. That's my email address, ward49@cityofchicago.org. I also have a Facebook page that is Joe Moore 49. So there are a number of different ways that you can reach out to me. I try to be really accessible. I have satellite service offices. I am out and about in the community handing out donuts and coffee and taking service requests. We were just out at the Jarvis cell this morning, and on Friday we'll be out over by the parking garage at the Howard Transit stop over on Rogers and Paulina. So look for me there, and
Great.
I'll be around throughout the rest of the summer.
Thank you, and thank you again. Joe Moore has been with CAN TV since the beginning. He was actually the first that came to interview at this new location.
Yep,
So
I
just
was
kinda wanted to
the
give you that.
inaugural guest at the new studio.
All right. Thank you again so much, and join us again next week for our next political forum.